I went to prison in 1971 because I was involved in a shootout with the police. While I was being charged for that shootout with the police, I got charged with another 2 attempted murders on some gangsters who'd been shot. I got found not guilty of those charges, but I still went to prison on other charges. And while I was in Pentridge prison in 1971, I found out there's no tigers and lions in prison. I actually felt like I belonged.
Yeah, righto. Yep.
It wasn't really scary for me.
Yep.
Because
you didn't know any different. It was.
I'd never taken drugs.
Yep.
And my family name was very acceptable in the system.
Yep.
Oh, you're young Ronnie. You're young Ronnie.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Oh, your old man's a good bloke. Oh, your old man can fight. Oh, your old man, you know.
Yep.
And all that stuff. And I had this hatred for my father by that stage because I knew that he'd been molesting my older sister.
Wow.
And I had to live with that.
Yeah. Yep.
And I could never have confronted him because he would have killed me.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Tonksy Media Podcast. Today's a special edition. This guy I'm absolutely honoured to have on the show. He's an absolute veteran in the game of addiction recovery with a massive 38 years sobriety under his belt with a crazy story behind it all. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce to you the great Ronnie Isherwood. Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thanks, Braden. I appreciate you inviting me into your show.
No worries, mate. Look, mate, we linked up recently. It was my pleasure to share my story on your podcast, so I thought, we'll return the favour and get you on and hear your story, mate. You've got a great story of, behind your 38 years of recovery, mate. A great backstory behind it all. So let's take it back to the start, mate, and let us know where Ron Isherwood's life started, and we'll flow on from there, mate.
Well, basically, my stories. I grew up in Victoria, in Melbourne. My father was a criminal, a boxer, hard man, broken horses. So he grew up this really tough life. I don't know where the criminality came from. My grandfather was a war veteran, hero. To me, when you say somebody's a hero, that just tells you one thing. They killed lots of people.
Yeah, righto.
You don't become a hero in the war unless you've killed people.
Yeah, of course.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Yep.
When you hear, oh, that guy's a hero, he was a soldier, he was in the SAS, what they're saying is that guy has done a lot of really nasty human things, what we call human things,
Yeah, yep.
So I grew up in this world where violence was a part of life. No one in my family drank. They all had drank and they'd all stopped drinking. Not through programs, they just stopped drinking because they'd go into blackouts, and my old man went to jail for assaulting coppers. Every time he got drunk, he assaulted coppers. My grandmother used to put half a house brick in her handbag when she'd go to the pub and beat people up with half a house brick. This is my grandmother. She was 20 stone. That's a big woman.
Yeah, wow.
In a country town.
Hard old woman.
Hard. And my grandfather was as quiet as a mouse.
Yeah, okay.
Never talked about anything. Just was beautiful, immaculately dressed. His shoes were shined, and his clothes were pleated. His shirts were ironed every day. He was immaculate, and he'd sit with his little hat on, with a suit on, in the house all day.
Yeah, right.
Didn't sort of go anywhere. And when I tried to talk to him about the war, he would never talk about the war. And I said to him one day, when I remember I was a little kid, I said, Poppy, did you ever get shot at in the war? And he goes, yeah, I got shot in the war, mate. I go, where? And he said, it went in me bum. He said, and it came out my mouth. He said, I was that busy running away. And, and that was his way of saying, I'm not talking about the war.
Yeah, yeah.
It was his way of just cutting me off.
Yeah. What do you think it was like a PTSD thing, obviously? Yep.
Yeah, 100%. It was a PTSD thing. In today's, we know all these labels and all that stuff. I call it just, being a human being, doing unhuman things, then we have to learn to live with them and cope with them,
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And today they've got all these labels. And in the early days, their answer was medications. As I say, so I grew up in this world where my father's a gangster, very violent man, extremely violent. I mean, violent enough to try to shoot me for slamming his car door.
Yeah, wow.
we pulled up in the car. We'd been arguing about something. I was boxing, and I got beaten for a fight, and he called me a weak cunt in front of everybody, and and anyway, our relationship had started straining. And we was on our way home. We was driving the driveway, and we was arguing about something. I don't know what it was about. And anyway, I got out of the car and I closed the door. And he yelled out, "Don't effing slam the door." And I said, "I didn't effing slam the door." He said, "Don't talk to me like that, you fuck." And I said, "Oh, fuck you." He jumped out of the car with a 45 and let go 2 shots at me. I'm jumping fences to get away.
Yeah, wow.
Closing his front door, from slamming the car door.
Yep.
I was 15 years of age at that stage. My grandfather passed away while I was actually ran away from home at that stage. And I was living with a 28-year-old woman at my father's house. I was 15. She was 28. My mum's girlfriend, she was living at the house with me. So, everything was unordinary, but to me it was ordinary.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know any different.
No, and my old man would be like, you got to eat that thing. If you don't eat it, someone else will be eating it, talking about it. And, he was just a horrible human being.
Yep.
And, he tried to have sex with her, and he tried to have sex with my ex-wives and everything else.
Yeah, wow.
He was just a really horrible human being, and but he was my hero.
Yeah.
He was my father.
Yeah, as most fathers are, for a young guy, like...
That's our role model, I wanted to be the best boxer because he was a boxer, I wanted to be the best crook because he was a crook.
Yep.
And I say this a lot, if my father had been a copper, I probably would have been a really good copper. If he had been a lawyer, I would have been a QC.
Yeah.
If he had been a doctor, I would have been a brain surgeon. But
Yep.
Draw of the cards with my father was a criminal. He was associated with the Painters and Dockers Union in Melbourne, which is a federation, a union back in the 70s, which was a very corrupt organisation.
Very notorious, crew, yeah.
Our motto was, we catch and kill our own.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. You didn't leave bodies on the streets. Everything was take away. The coppers would say, you don't leave bodies on the street, then we have to be involved.
Yeah.
If you leave a body on the street and you kill people in front of innocent people, then we have to get involved, and then we're going to have to come and close you, So it was a really wild upbringing. My father hated 2 things. He hated drug addicts and he hated tattoos.
Have a look at you, mate. Full body suit.
And I got a full body suit, and I became a heroin addict. I went to prison in 1971 because I was involved in a shootout with the police. And while I was being charged for that shootout with the police, I got charged with another 2 attempted murders on some gangsters who'd been shot. I got found not guilty of those charges, but I still went to prison on other charges. And while I was in Pentridge prison in 1971, I found out that there's no tigers and lions in prison. I actually felt like I belonged.
Yeah, righto. Yep.
It wasn't really scary for me.
Yep.
Because
you didn't know any different. It was.
I'd never taken drugs.
Yep.
And my my family name was very acceptable in the system.
Yep.
Oh, you're young Ronnie. You're young Ronnie.
Yep.
Oh, your old man's a good bloke. Oh, your old man can fight. Oh, your old man,
Yep.
And all that stuff. And I had this hatred for my father by that stage because I knew that he'd been molesting my elder sister.
Wow.
And I had to live with that.
Yeah, yep.
And I could never have confronted him because he would have killed me. So I lived with this love-hate relationship. And by the time I was 19, I just got out of jail. I got out of jail, did a couple of years when I went back in 71. In 73, I got out. And I came to Sydney. And I started using heroin. My mum passed away in March of 1973. I didn't, 73 I think it was, or 74, whatever. And I had a needle in my arm within 10 weeks of my mum passing away.
Yep.
And I liked it.
And was it big back then, heroin?
It was the drug.
Yeah, okay.
It was the drug.
Yep.
There was no such thing as ice. There was no MDMA. There was no GH.
Yep.
GHB and all that stuff.
Yeah, the juice.
None of that, none of that shit there. There was heroin and there was methamphetamines. And the meth was pure meth those days. It wasn't pseudoephedrine. It was ephedrine and benzodrine. It was made up. And a lot of our drugs would be out of chemist robberies. We'd rob chemists and get our drugs out of the chemists.
Yeah, okay.
The chemists would have cocaine, morphine, and then all the different, Pelfium, pethidine and all the other pharmaceuticals. All the opiates. I'm an opiate preferred person.
Yep. Well, was.
But I would use anything. Oh, I still am. If you put anything, I don't use today and I haven't used for a long time, but I know that I'm one shot away from being a junkie.
Yeah.
I don't think that I can pick up and control my drug use, not for 1 minute.
And as bad as that sounds, mate, I admire that that motto. I'm one shot away from being a junkie because it's so true, you know, like, yeah.
I've seen people, 10 or 15 years of recovery up. See, recovery to me is not about not using drugs. Recovery is about changing your attitudes and the way you think and the way you act and the way you react.
Yeah.
I believe addiction's a mental health disease. I don't believe it's got anything to do with drugs.
Yep.
I say you have a thinking problem.
Yep.
Not a drinking problem, and I say it all the time to people. And so my thinking problem, the answer to that was to shut it up. To me, drug use wasn't about partying. In the early days when I smoked a bit of pot and took a bit of acid, and we went to a nightclub and we danced like an idiot,
Yeah, and laughed and all the rest.
I could probably count that on two fingers.
Yeah.
I'm not a social person where I'd go out and hang out with people. So we'd use it home, and I remember we used to smoke. We used to sell. I got into drugs dealing, and by 1974, I was a pot dealer. I'd buy £100 of pot for $10,000, which was $100 a pound.
Yeah, fucking hell. Time to change. Yeah,
and we'd sell that for $30 an ounce.
Yep.
And that's a lot of money when you think back in the 70s. We were driving a brand new GT Falcon. My mate was driving a brand new Monaro. My other mate was driving a HQ panel van. This is 1974. And we're flying, wearing the beautiful clothes and the jewelry and living in a nice apartment. Even those days I was living in a really nice apartment with a swimming pool and all that stuff.
Yep.
And but once I put that needle in my arm, everything changed.
Yep.
Everything changed. I started associating with smugglers because when I was a pot dealer, I dealt with the growers.
Yep. When
I became a heroin addict, I started dealing with the smugglers because I don't want to go buying it off someone who's down the line,
Yep.
And I was a criminal, so I knew everybody. So my drug use just went crazy. I didn't know anything about addiction. In 1974, there was no information, no education about addiction.
Yeah.
And I was just banging this heroin away every day. And it's really funny. I did a podcast with the guy that sold me my first shot last year. He's still alive. He lives on the Gold Coast. And
Can I just ask, Ronnie, I know it's a long, long time ago, but can you remember that first time?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the feeling and can you explain that?
I was in Burwood. I'd just gone to drop off some ounces of pot. And I was the man. I liked being the man.
Yep.
I really enjoyed being a drug dealer. I liked being a drug dealer. I liked the attention.
Yep.
I liked the girls. I liked the money. I liked the power.
Yep.
The ego. I liked all
different generation, mate, but I was exact same.
Yeah. I liked all that shit. I really enjoyed being a drug dealer.
Yep.
I had no understanding of the degradation, the dereliction I was causing to other people, and the harm. I had no understanding of the harm, that's to be honest, because I was using it myself.
Yeah.
So, I had no understanding of harm. So I remember this guy walked into the house. We were all in the lounge room listening to a bit of Pink Floyd, smoking bongs, and everyone got up and went to the kitchen. I was like, what the hell is this? What's going on here? What's this guy got that I want? Because all of a sudden, he's the man. And I don't like that. I want to be the man.
Yeah, yep.
So there's a girl there with me, and I used to want to get into her pants, and she goes, oh, he's got some smack. I'm like, what? She goes, he's got some heroin. Have you tried it? And I said, yes, because, I didn't want to say no.
Yeah, didn't want to look like a dickhead, yep.
And I intravenously used another drug in prison, which was called Largactil, which is a psych drug.
Yeah.
And she said, have you shot up before? I said, yeah, it's all good. So we went out, and I remember I bought a capsule of heroin. In those days, you used to get 6 shots out of a $30 cap.
Wow, yep.
And so they mixed up a shot for me and the girl. Because my plan was have a shot, go and spend some dirty time with her.
Yep.
Go back home to my girlfriend. Everything's roses. And, well, what happened was I had the shot. I started vomiting. And I laid on the floor. I couldn't drive home. I was so stoned.
Yep.
Never got to hang out with that girl that day. My mate had to put me on the back of his motorbike and drive me home and drop me to my girl, back at my house to my girl. And my girl was like, what happened? He's okay. He just had to try some heroin. He'll be right. I woke up the next morning. I tracked the guy down that sold me the dope. He said, how much does it cost for a bag of that? In those days, it was $500 for half an ounce.
Yeah, wow.
I said, and how many caps do you make? And he said, we make 100 number 3s. I said, how much do you sell this cap for? He said, between 25 and 30. I did the maths and I stopped selling pot.
Yeah, jumped straight on the bandwagon.
Well, the pot's smelly.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
It's big.
Yep.
We used to have a safe house in Burwood in Sydney, and it was a 4-storey block of units. You'd walk into the bottom foyer and you could smell the pot on the 4th floor.
Yeah.
It stunk the whole building out.
Yep. Was it hydroponic pot back then?
No,
just
no such thing as hydro though.
Yeah, righto, yep.
It was all just
bush, yep.
It was actually Queensland heads. We used to buy the big heads. Some of the heads were Some of these were £1 each.
Yep.
You know, they were giant, big heads, furry things, big red. And I'll never forget. Mate, you know, I still love the smell of pot today.
Yeah. Yep.
I like the texture of it, the touch of it, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
All that sort of stuff. So, yeah, so I had that shot and I loved it. I just loved it because to me it was like, how long has this been on?
Yeah.
Why hasn't someone told me about this? 3 weeks into it, I'm having a shot every day with this guy. This guy became my dealer. I'm like, how much is you getting a cap? He was getting $5 a cap when he was selling for the other guy. I said, I'll give you 10. So he started working for me.
Yep.
Long story short, of course, I got involved with the guys that were bringing it in. And I woke up one morning, had a shower, and I started vomiting. And I thought, I've got food poisoning. I was really sick.
Dope sick.
I was dope sick. I didn't know what it was. And my mate, the guy that told me my first shot, he was now my partner, turned up, started laughing. Oh, he was wrapped. Because he knew, you know. He goes, no. He said, no, mate, you just need another shot. And he mixed up and he gave me a shot. And the saddest part is I didn't think, oh, fuck, that's bad. You know, now I'm hooked. I didn't think that. I thought, never run out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never, ever run out.
Yep.
You can't run out because when you run out, you're sick.
Yeah.
So I made the decision there and then that you never run out of smack. Under no circumstances do you not have heroin to wake up to in the morning.
Yep.
And I tried that for many, many years. I lived by that. I never went to detoxes. I never went to rehabs. The only time I ever detoxed was in prison.
Yep.
I'd get arrested and I'd hang out in the cells. But what happened was because of my drug addiction, the criminal fraternity sort of black banned me. I was no longer welcome to work with their crews. And so I started becoming the Lone Ranger, and my terms in prisons they were short terms, what I call short terms, 2 years, 3 years and things like that. But they were becoming frequent. I'd only be out of jail for 3 months and I'd be back in because of my addiction.
Yep.
And my crimes become petty. I started off using in the penthouse and finished in the shit house.
Yep. It's the way it goes, isn't it? Like,
and I remember being in jail and still dealing drugs in jail, still selling drugs in jail, using, they used to have draftsman's pens and you couldn't get syringes in jails. And I was a minority. You got to remember, in the 70s when I was using, I was a minority. There wasn't that many drug addicts in jail.
yeah. Yep.
I remember sitting in a cell one day and I've got this homemade pen out of a draftsman pen. I don't know if you remember them. They used to have just the nib in the middle of them. And they were burgundy colour and you'd use them for doing drafting.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'd made a syringe out of one of those. So all I'd do is just jam that into my arm, then had a plunger that I'd made with, and I'd put the plastic off the cigarette ox packet as the plunger on a pen. And I just jab it in my arm. There's no jack in the back to see if you just push it away.
Fuck, yeah.
And I remembered I was having trouble getting it away this day, and one of the lifers, a real good mate of mine, Johnny Stout, had walked in and he thought I was slashing up. He said, oh, mate, stop, don't do that. Because he just walked in, and here I am.
With this fucking
attacking my arm with this fucking pen. And he said, mate, don't do it, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I said, no, it's all right, Johnny, it's okay, I'm just trying to get a shot away. And he was like, what? I said, I'm trying to inject some heroin. And he fucking just dropped off, straight. I was like, I don't want to be around this guy anymore.
Yeah.
Because that was the stigma of addiction,
Yeah, yeah.
So my using was out of control. I escaped from prison in 1978 from an island on the Hawkesbury. It was called Wilson Island. And people go, oh, you escaped, blah, blah. Mate, I only swam off there because I wanted to use.
Yeah.
I didn't escape to get away. And I was arrested in King's Cross 28 days later.
Yep.
And I got another year. So my maths were really bad. My intentions were crazy. Everything had to do with getting and using and finding ways of to get more. My whole life revolved around drug addiction and drug use. Fast forward, 1981. I mean, I got out of jail, and a friend of mine had just been, I actually got out of jail, hooked up with a friend of mine called Warren Lamb French. He's pretty notorious. Roger Rogerson killed him.
Yes, mate. Yeah, I know of
Frenchy and
him.
old mates. And I told Frenchy about drug dealing. Frenchy wasn't a drug dealer. He was a bloody armed robber. And anyway, I explained to him about how much money there was and all that. And he got out and hooked up with Nettie Smith. And the story goes, Nettie was selling to Warren. Warren was selling to me. And because Warren only knew me as a fitness fanatic in jail and we trained together, mates.
Yeah, yep.
After about 8 weeks, he said, who the hell are you? Where's my mate Ronnie? He
Yeah.
said, you're just a fucking junkie.
Wow.
You're hopeless.
Yep.
Because he'd give me an ounce and I'd be short.
Yeah,
And
you'd use it.
Next week he'd give me another ounce I'd be short again. And he'd say, mate, where's all the money going? And I'd stick it up my arm.
Yeah.
You know, and cut a long story short, he said to me, this is a true story, and this is documented. I've told this story a lot, and it is 100% true. He said to me, I'm going to knock Nettie. He said he's cutting the gear and he's robbing me. And he was with Sally Ann Huckstep at the time. And I said, mate, if you're going to knock Nettie, don't tell anybody, just do it. I said, because he's treacherous. Don't fucking tell anybody. And I got pinched. A couple of days later, I'm in the MRC, Long Bay Jail. I hear Frenchie's been knocked. So the word must have got back to Nettie that Frenchie was telling people he was going to knock him. He went and seen his mate Roger. He took him out to the Denga place where Roger when Nettie patted him down, made sure he wasn't armed. Roger Rogerson knocked him, and I shit myself. That's the truth. I shit myself. It's like, oh fuck, because another guy came into the MRC and said, Roger's looking for you too, because he knew that you had been with Frenchie.
Yeah.
So I went to rehab. I went to rehab in 1981, and that was the reason I went. My motivation was I was terrified that I was going to get knocked.
Yeah.
But I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I went to rehab in 1981, and that was the first time I found out that there was such a thing as recovery. There was 12-step programs. There were other people trying to get clean. That I wasn't the only one that felt the way I felt.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. You started to understand it. Yeah.
The empathy and compassion for another human being was incredible. And I've got a mate of mine called Peter Darby. He's still alive. He's 70-something years of age, Pete. And him and I were good mates. And he turned up at the drug rehab I was at. And he came there because he knew I was there, and he was in a panic. He was wanted for 2 murders, him and another guy, 3 murders. And he came to me and he said, oh, mate, the Jacks are looking for me for 3 murders. He said, I'm cold. He said, I'm not guilty. He said, you know, but it was one of our mates that did it. And I said, well, just stay here. And the really funny part was about 4 days into it, he got that compulsion that we get to use, and he said, oh, fuck it, I'd rather go back to the Nick. Take me a chance on the street to stay here.
Yep.
And of course he blamed the rehab. He said, oh, no, they're all weak, can't see, blah, 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 blah. And we're walking down the road. It was in Goulburn, this rehab, and we were walking down this big long driveway. It was about half a kilometre long. And I started crying. And I hadn't cried since I was 12 years of age, 13 years of age.
Yeah.
I didn't even cry at my mother's funeral. And I burst into tears. And something happened that day because I had the therapeutic value of one addict helping another. I felt compassion.
Yeah, wow.
I felt for him because I knew where he was going back to.
Yeah.
And I was saying, mate, don't go back there, you know, Rogerson will knock you, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, nah, it's all right, I'd rather go back. Anyway, long story short, Pete's still alive. They never knocked him. But something broke inside of me. I never stayed clean. I stayed clean for 10 months. I went back to jail because what happened was I thought that I could drink beer because beer was never a drug to me, you know.
Yep.
And anyway, I'd left that rehab. I was bailed to the rehab. I'd reported every day.
Yep.
While I was in that rehab, I had to report to Goulburn Police Station every single day. And anyway, I'd left the rehab over a girl. I was chasing a girl. And she ended up having twin daughters to me, who's now 41 years of age. And I met up with a couple of mates of mine, and they said, oh, you know, just have a couple of beers. I thought, oh, yeah, okay, all right, that'll work. And I had 2 beers, then I took a couple of pills, I don't even know what they were, probably Mandy's those days. Had a couple more beers, then I all of a sudden wanted to get heroin.
Yeah, that urge, yep.
And I left their house, went and stole a car for, you know, an old panel van, an old HD panel van. I remember doing the ignition on it. And it was a baker's van.
Yep.
And I got the silly baker's cap out of the back and put it on my head. Got a T-shirt and wrapped it around my face. So I was going to go and do an armed robbery on a post office or something. Get some money and drive back to Sydney to school because this was in Canberra. And I smashed the car. Stoned, smashed full of pills, full of alcohol.
Yep.
Crashed the car's steam coming everywhere, hit a tree, ran off the side of the road. And I get out and I limp up the road, you know, like just get away from the car. And a big orange transit van pulls up and it says, police accident squad, you know, it's an accident car. Someone had called and said there's been an accident, they've come. There's no bars, it's not a police car as we know, it was an accident car.
Yeah,
They come and photograph it and all that sort of stuff. But it's bright orange. And it says federal police across the side of it.
Yep.
And they get me in the back and they go, you know, first of all, they go, you in that accident? I go, no, you know, and I got blood on my head, my legs were cut. And I'm like, and he said, oh, that guy over there rang the police and said, you're in the car. I said, yeah, I was in the car, but I wasn't driving. My mate's driving, and he's wandered off in the bush. Well, they've gone looking for my mate, but they've left the car running, the police car.
Oh, no.
So I've jumped straight in the front seat and took off, stole the orange transit van. That was the last time I had a drink, 1982.
Fucking hell, yeah. You've vaguely told me that story before. When the last time you drank, you stole a police car. And unbelievable.
I drove the police car straight back to where I was staying, to my mate's flat. Tried to go under the awning, which got crushed. It's got the big lights on the top and everything else. So I dump it down. I run upstairs, and I'm laughing. I'm crazy. I think I've got away, and I'm laughing about the whole thing. And I'm like, I just got away from the coppers. And I took their handset with the little radio. Next thing I heard, yeah, we've located the police car. He's in room, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, no. So I just put the radio down on the ground and put my hands on the head as the door came kicking in.
Yeah, right.
Next thing, the coppers are there.
Yeah.
So, that was my experience with alcohol.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah, mate. So, my life, then it just...
So did you end up, you said you were 10 months clean, you got on the piss and you went hunting for gear. Did you end up getting gone?
No, I got pinched.
Oh, you got pinched. Yes, right. Yeah, I'm with you now. Yeah,
So I got pinched and I'm back in the cells, and this is the only time I ever thought about knocking myself.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I actually thought about knocking myself. I thought I can't get straight, and I don't want to keep using. And I planned to knock myself, and this is a pretty crazy story. And it was fucking crazy. I planned it. It was on a Saturday because that was when the screws were the laziest. It was a Balcon Remand Centre, and I worked out where I was going to do it. On the Saturday morning, the girl that I'd left the rehab for turned up and said to me, I'm pregnant.
Oh.
So I didn't kill myself.
It's like a saviour.
Yeah. Divine intervention. And I've got beautiful twin daughters who are 41 years of age.
So she was pregnant with the twins?
We didn't know it was twins at the time.
Wow.
I went back to jail because, of course, I was already on remand in the rehab, and then I got pinched for the police car. I think the judge was pretty cool. He gave me something like 8 months or something because he knew the girl was pregnant, and he said, And anyway, I got out, and the kids were about 2 months old when I got out. And, of course, I got out of jail and I went straight back up the cross. She was in rehab. I started using, then she came and got me from the rehab, and I stayed clean for 12 months that time. And I relapsed again, and then I stayed clean for 30 months, and then I relapsed again. And the last time I relapsed was we'd split up, the girl and I, and I was just sort of got the fuckus, fuck you, I'll show you, and I started using, and I only used for 5 months, and I went on methadone. I was on 120 methadone. It was horrible.
Yep.
Going down to the chemist every day, picking up your done.
Yep.
Lining up, and it was just disgusting.
Yeah, you still feel like a junkie.
I felt worse. Felt worse. I just felt terrible. It was disgusting. And I'd already been around 12-step fellowships, and I knew that you could get clean because I knew other people that had stayed clean. Yep. And I had one mate who used to come up the cross nearly every week. He'd pull up in his Statesman. He was my best mate. Still my best mate today. Yep. And we used together, him and I, and we got clean together, and then I went out and relapsed. And I'd get blokes come up and say, your mate in that flash car's been looking for you. Yep. And I'd go up the main street of the cross, and I'd see him, and he'd say, you had enough yet, mate? And I'd go, no. He'd say, see you next week. Yep. And he'd leave. He'd come back next week and say, you had enough yet, mate? I'd say, no. He'd say, see you later. So one day he said, you had enough yet? And I said, yeah, I have. So he took me to a detox, and I jumped off 120 methadone cold turkey. Wow. Which nearly killed me. Yeah. Only lasted 10 days.
Dangerous.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't do it today.
Yeah.
This is in 1986, and I was the first person they'd ever tried, and they said I was the last person I'd ever try. So on day 10, I was rushed up to the emergency hospital. They injected me with some intravenous Valium to try to take the craziness out of my head. And I still haven't picked up a drug since that day. So it was the 3rd of March, 1986 was the last time I put a drug in my body, and I started helping other people, and I started, really taking care of my recovery. I started taking care of my health. I always trained, but I started training. I started eating. I didn't associate with anyone using drugs. I took 12 months where I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't walk down the main street of the cross. My mates would go to the cross, I wouldn't go. I just black band because that's where I used to use. Yep. So I'd black band the cross altogether. And I'd got a year up, and then I was still unconfident because I'd been down that road before. I'd had a couple of times around a year. And then I got 5 years up, and all of a sudden I started to think, okay, I'm going all right. Then I got 10 years up, and I'm thinking, and I'd run companies. I always run businesses. I've always been able to make money. I've been really successful. I've had a jewellery company now for nearly 38 years. I was a jewellery thief. Yeah. So, it was only natural to go into what you know. Yeah. I went into the jewellery trade. I ended in the motor trade. We had a car yard. And so I was always a money maker. Yeah. Money's never been the issue with me. My mental health's always been my issue. Yep. And around about 15 years clean, I got associated back into drug dealing.
Yeah, okay.
Well, not drug dealing, drug smuggling.
Yeah, okay, yeah, this is where this story starts.
And I don't, and I can justify it. No, I won't justify it anymore. I used to justify it. A mate came to me and wanted me to help him. He got in a bit of trouble with the cartel. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I have never been connected with drug smugglers and all that stuff. My whole life I've been involved in that scene.
Yep.
And but in recovery, I'd got this new life, and I had a new wife. I had a wife that I'd met in America, and a beautiful 6-year-old daughter. And I was financially very stable.
Yep.
I had a waterfront mansion, and I had the convertible Corvette, and I had the nice boat, and I had all the outside. But on the inside, I still felt like a thief, a liar, and a cheat.
Yeah, okay.
I still felt like a fraud for some reason. And it was because I was still associated with all the riffraff,
Yeah, the shitty circle, yeah.
Yeah, and I still wanted to be the man. I still had suffered with that egomaniac stuff.
Yeah.
And
how old were you? About around this age, like?
It was in 19... I was 48.
Yeah, okay, yep.
I was 48 years of age.
Yep.
Still wanted to be the man. I still... if someone came to me and said, I've got a kilo of gold for sale, I'd say, I'll buy it.
Yeah, yep.
We've got a couple of $100 worth of Rolexes, I'll buy them.
Yep.
These have been Rolexes for 20 or 30 grand each, not
yep.
like they are now. $100 buys one watch.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
But I'd still buy shit, I'd still, so I'd still danced around the edges. and I say it all the time, you can't be half pregnant. You either are or you ain't.
Yeah.
And what happened for me was, at 16 years clean, I got arrested for a conspiracy to import. And because my role, I felt was a minor role, plus I had a lot of money, I knew I could pay for lawyers, and I was like, this is nothing, I've done nothing wrong. And I was arrogant about it. And I got found guilty. I was the only one that got found guilty. My other 3 co-accused, I got found not guilty. And I got found guilty after a 21-day trial.
When you say conspiracy, you were charged with a conspiracy. What do you mean by that?
Well, conspiracy is when you try to bring something in, but it doesn't get in.
Ah, righto. Yeah, okay.
The cocaine never ever came into Australia.
Yep.
I mean, it was intercepted in Brazil, changed over to some flour.
Yep.
And they sent flour across to Bali. And my point of it was that I knew a mate in Bali that I'd say, mate, just get that and bring it over here for me, will you?
Yeah, yep.
Because the guy I was involved with had already stuffed up all the rest of it.
Yep, I'm with you.
So I got involved and I got arrested and I got sentenced to 18 years, which is a long time.
Wow, yep. And at that age too, yep.
Yeah, I was 49, nearly 50 years of age when I got sentenced. And because it was federal, you have to serve 9 years.
Yep.
So I went back into prison at 16 years clean with a beautiful wife and child who in 2006, between us, we decided that she should go back to live in America. She was an American. And get on with her life because she was only young. And, I thought it was very selfish of me to...
Have him wait for you.
It's bullshit, mate. You can't put that expectation.
You can't, that's right.
She didn't commit the crime,
Yeah.
Guys go, my missus left me, mate. I tell them to leave.
Yep.
That's unrealistic. It's selfish. So anyway, I just said, we'll take what money we've got and you go. And she did. And
that would have been tough on you, mate, going to jail, knowing that you got a minimum 9 years up your sleeve.
Mm.
You're 50 years old. You've lived a fucking hectic life, and now you're losing your wife and daughter, son.
Yeah, wife's daughter.
Yeah, so that you would have went into prison a very broken man.
$2 million.
Yep.
600,000 in legal fees.
Wow.
And there was no proceeds of crime because there was no crime.
Yeah.
Because there was never anything brought into the country.
Yep.
So, it was a nasty pill, but you know what? I'm not a victim. I sat in the cell. The day they found me guilty, Terry O'Gorman, who was my lawyer, who's a pretty head lawyer up here, when I got found guilty, he came down and he said, I'm so sorry, mate. I'm so sorry. And because of my arrogance, I said, mate, they didn't win. I said, 3 of my mates are going home tonight. Out of those 3, I had one bloke keep in contact with. The other 2 just dumped me.
Yep.
And I just copped the 18-year lag, and for all of us, all the old crims that were mates of mine that we grew up with, that we'd all learnt together.
Yep.
I had one visit from one of them. He put $150 in my property in 8 years.
Fuck.
So
just goes to show, doesn't it?
That's the lie of crime. And then I was in the cells and I was thinking, I never want to be involved in these arse wipes again.
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved with crime. I don't want to be involved with the lie of crime. And I started a writer's course, and I wrote my life story. I wrote a book called Born into the Lie of Crime.
Yep.
And that's published last year, you know.
Yeah.
And, so I wrote the book, and when I wrote the book, it was very fucking cleansing because I had a real honest look at what I'd done, my life.
Yeah. Bit of a reality check
It was
sort
a
of thing.
reality check.
Yeah.
It was like a moral inventory. It was like, okay, this is who you really are. Not what you think you are. This is who you really are. And I was just a scared little boy.
Yeah.
You know, I was a scared little boy, you know, and because I was so aggressive, don't get me wrong, I'm still very protective of my family. You touch my family, I'll go back to jail tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll fucking kill you and go back to
Yep.
jail
And
tomorrow.
that's a good thing, a good way to be, if you ask me. Fucking oath.
That's
Yeah.
a male thing, see.
It is, mate, yeah.
Today, I'm a human being first. I'm a male second, and I have a dependency on drugs when I take them third. I have a thinking problem because I have an affliction of my thoughts.
Yep.
People call it an addiction. People talk about recovery, sobriety. I just say I have a thinking problem. And I need to program that thinking problem by feeding the good parts. Don't focus on the negative, focus on the positive.
Yeah.
You know, the story of the old Indian chief talking to his grandson and all the Indian kids, and he talks about the black wolf and the white wolf. That's me.
Yep.
And he tells the kid, he said, my whole life I've had this battle between the black wolf and the white wolf. He said, and the battle's been, you know, fierce. You know, and he was an 80-year-old man. He said, and the battles have been fierce. He said, sometimes one of the wolves will limp away bleeding for weeks, months, years.
Yep.
He said, then he'll sneak back.
Yeah. What a way to put it.
Yeah. And that's me. I relate to that fully. I really relate to that.
Yeah.
And
It's a great way to put it. Fucking oath. Yeah.
I realise what I feed is what I become.
Yeah.
So if I feed the negative and the crime and the dishonesties and all that stuff, I become, you know, I say, you hang around 5 shirtlifters, you become a shirtlifter.
Yeah, that's right.
You
Yep.
hang around 5 shoplifters, you start stealing.
Yep.
You know, it's that simple. It really is that simple. So I hang around positive people. While I was in jail, what happened was I wrote that life story. I helped a lot of people in jail who wanted to get clean. I brought 12-step literature into the jail. I actually bought it myself and got it sent in through the 12-step fellowships. I started getting people from inside to come into the jail and do H&I meetings. And then out of divine intervention, Barrellan Correctional Centre was owned by Serco. The GM there believed in recovery. And he'd heard about me, and my mates call me the Pied Piper. That's their nickname for me, the Pied Piper of recovery.
Yep.
And people follow me, you know. And so what happened was I went across, I got transferred to Barrellan, which was a big deal because I was in maximum security. And Barrellan was still maximum security. It was a lot better than all the rest of them.
Yep.
I'd sat at Woodford for 6 years.
Yeah,
Next thing
right.
I get this message, you're being transferred to Barrellan. And some, I don't want to go into the politics of other stuff, but there was a reason I wasn't allowed to go to Barrellan. There was a prisoner there that I wasn't allowed to be near. For some reason, they thought that something would happen if I went near him.
Yep.
And I get there, and the next day I have a meeting with the general manager. He said, I hear really good stuff about you. You're recovery focused. I want to start a rehab in prison. What do you think we can do? What do we need to do? And I said, we need to have a unit completely separated from all the rest of the jail. We have our own food. We cook our own food. He's brilliant. His name's Guy Buff. We still communicate.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
He's the general manager of Serco those days in Australia for Queensland. Anyway, so bang, we started a unit. And out of that unit, we had 28 blokes in it. I didn't live in the unit. I lived in the village. I was a privilege. And I'd come to work every day, and I worked there 7 days a week for 18 months. And in that unit, there's 28 guys at a time, and the unit was drug-free. We ran meetings in there. We ran everything in there. We ran it like a rehab, mate.
Yeah, unreal, yeah.
We had morning meetings. We had commitments. We had 12-step meetings. We had 12-step people come in. I had a yoga instructor come in, which all the boys wanted to do yoga because she'd have her tight clothes on. And it didn't matter why, you know, they were there. They were treating themselves. So I was starting to get spiritual concepts.
Yeah, yeah.
And learning about the 8 demands that I run all my programs on. And well, really successful. The GM moved. The next in charge didn't believe in recovery. He believed in retribution. Shut us down.
Be fucked. Yeah, even though all this positivity was coming out of it. And
Yep.
fuck.
Yeah, and so anyway, not long after that, I got moved to Gatton. Gatton prison was opened. It was the newest prison in Queensland. And I got moved to Gatton, and I got released from Gatton on the 30th of the 3rd, 2012. So I'm coming up to my 12th year out. As you said before, I was an older guy. I'm sitting in prison thinking I'm never going to, honest thoughts are, I'm never going to find a beautiful woman again. My kids are growing up. I've missed out on watching that was my greatest crime.
Yep.
I missed out on my little girl growing up from 6 to 16.
Yeah, wow.
She moved back to Australia when I got out.
Yep.
And she lives here. Her mum still lives in America. And, that was, if you want to ask me what the greatest crime I ever committed, was wasted my life.
Yep.
That's right. The greatest crime I ever committed was wasted my life.
Yep.
And missed out on watching my children grow up. So I get out of jail in 2012. Parole board's being a complete fucking arsehole. I transferred to New South Wales to get this old lady there. Not old, she's a lot younger than me, but she's fucking old in her ways.
Yeah.
The long fingernails, and she's like, you dropped your soap, you would have kicked it all the way to your unit, eh?
Yeah, right, one of those ones. Yep.
And you got to do a year on. I'm going to do it. She's watching me do the piss. I haven't had a woman near me for 8 years.
Yeah, yep.
And here she is wanting to watch me do urines, and I couldn't piss, and I said, listen, this has got to stop.
Yeah.
I said, you've got to get a male in here.
Yep.
I said, because, I can't do this. And she was like, well, if you can't do it, I'm going to breach you. I said, well, you're going to have to fucking breach me.
Yep.
And anyway, then the boss came in, and I did the urine for him. And she was a real arrogant, horrible human being. And she said to me, you won't be able to manipulate us like you did the system. You won't be able to, she was just being a real horrible person. And she said, here's this psychiatrist's name I want you to go and see. He's the head psychiatrist for probation and parole. And he knows about drug addiction. He used to be a drug addict himself.
Yep.
I'm like, okay.
Did you just see this in a sarcastic way? Yeah. Yep.
And she wrote down his name, and I had to stop the smile. I 12-stepped him. I used to be his sponsor.
Yeah, righty-ho.
So I ring him up and say, Patrick, his name, I can say his name, he's dead, Patrick Shannon.
Yep.
I said, Patrick, we're on Isherwood. He said, oh, mate, how are you? I said, no, stop. This is a business call. I said, I've just come out of probation and parole. I've said I've got to come in. He said, where are you? And he said, here's my address. Come over to my joint. So I went straight over to his joint, and I told him what had happened. He said, sweet, we'll change her. Because he was the head psychiatrist.
Yeah.
He said, we'll change her.
So I turned around and bit her clean on the fucking ass.
Turn around and bit her on the ass.
Yeah.
I met my new wife. He'd been in Australia for 20 years. She came from Vietnam when she was only 8 years of age or something. And she'd been here in Australia, she'd been in Australia 12, 13 years, something like. She was only 22 when I met her.
Yep.
And here I'm thinking, I'm never going to get another girl. I meet this beautiful woman. We start dating. I go to Patrick. I'm on federal parole. I go to Patrick and I say, I want to go to Vietnam. She says, sweet. He writes a report. I think it'd be good for Mr. Isherwood to go to Vietnam to meet his future wife's father.
Yeah.
Probation and parole can't stop me because he's their guy, that's their boss of their psychiatry, saying, I think this is good for his rehabilitation. So next time I'm on a plane to Vietnam with my beautiful fiancée to meet her dad. We come back and we say, okay, I want to go and live in Queensland. Patrick writes a letter. I recommend Mr. Isherwood go back to Queensland to where he was before he got arrested to help with his rehabilitation and integration back into the system.
Yeah, wow.
So we go back to Queensland.
Yep.
Probation and parole tried to tell me that I couldn't do drug and alcohol work. I couldn't go back into the jewelry trade. I only knew three things.
Yeah.
Drug and alcohol, jewelry, and fucking drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they were trying to stop me from doing the other two, which was trying to force me back into the other way. So anyway, we opened a company up there called Sugarman Classics, which was a car restoration company. We were building Corvettes. Got out of control. Become one of the most successful hot rod companies in Australia, for building Corvettes.
Yep.
It was actually the most successful. We were getting phone calls from around the world. People wanted to send their cars to us.
Yep.
And so that went really well. And I still always maintain my jewelry company, which I still own today. But I always help people. I've always been that person. I like to carry a message of recovery. I believe you can only keep what you got by giving it away.
Yeah.
See.
Now, mate, there's a question I want to ask you, and I've just been looking as I'm sitting here. You've got a lot of spiritual tattoos on you, mate. Can you give us a bit of a background on why? And like just looking at your hands, you've got some Buddhas there. Yeah. You've got Jesus on your forearm.
Yeah. That's an angel. That's the Virgin Mary.
Yeah, and I've also seen in your podcast videos you've got big Jesus on your back as well. Yeah.
And the funny part is, the Jesus on my back was put on for it's really sarcastic. When you were a thief in the old days, and they used to give you the cat and nine tails, the whip.
Yeah.
if you had a religious symbol on your back, whoever's doing the whipping would pull up.
Yeah, right.
Because you didn't want to
Yeah.
figure the
The faith.
faith.
Yeah.
You know, that was put there as that reason. That was put there and to watch me back.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Have you always been a religious, spiritual guy?
Spiritual person.
Yeah.
I don't believe in religion.
Yeah.
I believe organised religion is about control.
Yep. But you believe in, obviously, a higher power. Yeah.
I believe in a higher power.
Yep.
My forearms are tattooed with religious stuff because my mum passed away when I was 19.
Yep.
The only person I'd loved in my whole world. And so I dedicated my arms to my mother because that's how you pray.
Yeah. Yep.
The Buddhists are for me.
Yep.
I like the Buddhist, the belief. It's not a religion, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
So I studied the Buddhist. See, after I'd got clean, I searched a lot. I was looking for something because I knew it was more than just putting down the drink of the drugs. So I went over to India to the ashrams, and I went to the sannyasins, which is the orange people, in a place called Pune in India, and it was full of drug smugglers. all the sannyasins were drug smugglers, you know?
Yep.
And it was just like a club med. We were all having sex over there and partying. And that.
Yeah.
When I say partying, I don't party with drugs or alcohol because I'm clean, but everyone else was partying. Then I read when I was in jail, I'd read the Bible many times, as we all do, because that was the only book in the cell once.
Yeah. I remember they had an actual a prison Bible, it was called, and it's worded for a simple person to read. Yeah.
And we had those. Well, I used to tear the pages out of the Bible to roll with soaks.
Yeah.
When I ran into ciggy papers, I'd pull the papers out and roll smokes with
the old Bible papers. Yeah. That's a thing that's happened for many years.
People don't understand that. You get any lengths in prison, we're very adaptive people. Like I used to pull the wires out of my radio to make a fucking boil-up wire so I could make a hot cup of tea.
Yeah.
In the old days, you had wax paper on your bread, so you'd burn that so you could cook toast.
Yep.
People just don't understand, like...
No, all the little tricks in the trade of jail.
Is in jail, throwing a line. What's throwing a line? Oh, throwing a piece of line across one cell, then he flicks the cotton to the next cell until they get the dope down 15 cells down.
All under the doors.
Or pump the water out of the toilet. We talked that on the phone.
Yeah.
Get on the phone, get on the eau de cologne tonight, and the guy upstairs would pump his shit house, pump the water out the shit house, I'd pump the water out my shit house, and we talk through the
pipes.
Talk to the two toilets, to each other. People don't...
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. That was it. But, so my recovery was getting to a point where I came home this time where it was all about my thinking problem. And it was all about spirituality. It was all about what I call spirituality is openness, acceptance, reliability, congruence, thoroughness, consistency, respect and honesty. Those 8 demands, they're the crutch to my whole program that I teach and that I do. And if you're doing those things in your life, in all areas of your life, if you're honest with your partner, you're reliable with your partner, you're open with your partner, you're accepting, you're congruent, you're thorough, you have a really good relationship.
Yeah.
Well, I use those demands in all areas of my life, my businesses, my relationships, and I think you've already worked out. If I say I'm going to be there at 7, I'm there at 7. I'm actually there at 2:15.
Yeah, yep. Very reliable.
If I'm on time, I'm late.
Yeah, yep.
That's how I see it. If I'm on time, I'm late. My time is not more valuable than your time. I think that's arrogant to be late.
Yep.
I think it's really disrespectful not to do what you say. And I do believe that 100% that my time is really, that's the most valuable commodity I've got. If I've given you my time, I'm giving you the most valuable thing I own.
Yeah, it's awesome, mate. Yeah. Yep.
And I believe that. I really do. I believe, our world has become a shithole. I went and stayed in a hotel last night. It was the filthiest hotel I've ever stayed in. Now, It wasn't cheap. And I battled with it, Anyway, I videoed it this morning. I went up and videoed the whole place and did a little commentary. I went downstairs and said, can I speak to the manager? And the guy that was there was just the manager of the maintenance. And I said, look at this. And I showed him, because I rubbed my finger across the windows and it was just filled.
Yeah, leaving lines there.
And then there was the mould all over the sinks and the shower door fell off and things like that. This is not this is a decent hotel.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said to him, mate, this is disgusting. I said, this company should be ashamed of itself. I said, I'm going to send this video to your manager. I said, I don't care about the money back.
Yep. Did they reimburse you though? Or?
I don't know. You will send them an email. But the reality is the principle. But that's what society's about now. It's about how to get more money, how to get more money,
that's
how to
right.
get more money. How can we pull more money out of your pocket?
Yeah.
And it starts with us. It starts with the governments. It starts with everything. Everybody's out there now just reaping the money out of your pocket, Go and park somewhere, $30 an hour.
I know.
People aren't making $30 an hour working. You get out and mow your lawns, you're not making $30 an hour.
No, that's right.
You know, you go over the speed limit by 8, like $400 fine.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that $400 fine, that's that guy's half his wages. That's got to feed his children.
Yeah.
Well, he shouldn't have been speeding. Well, he's a human being.
Yeah.
We're not fucking robots.
That's right, mate. $15 for fucking bread and milk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just, you know, the cost of living is just, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous, you know, like, especially to think back in your day, like the
difference. You know, it was pennies.
Yeah, to think of the difference now is just like, you know, I mean, I was born in the early 90s, but even from then till now is different, is a huge difference, you know.
And the wages haven't gone up that much, you know what I mean? But it's not even that, it's the attitude.
Yeah.
It's the attitude that gets me the most. You know, I said to that young girl yesterday when I booked at the hotel, is there any car spaces? Oh, it's first in, best dressed. And I came out and she goes, oh, well, if you can't park there, just park across the road. And I said, the car I'm driving's pretty expensive. I don't feel like just parking.
22 Corvette, like,
I don't feel like parking just across the road.
Yeah.
You know, but her attitude was, oh, first in, first dressed. Like, there's no customer service, there's no responsibility, there's no care taken. And this is just, I'm using that as an example, but that's in everything today.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do with my podcast is express to people, if we apply principles to ourselves, we can then apply them to other people. If we can get a big enough amount of people to apply that principle of life, of being open and honest and reliable and congruent, maybe the government will learn how to be those things. Maybe corporates will learn how to be those things.
Yep.
And that's why I try to teach the demands to corporates.
Yeah.
To try to get through to say, man, you guys really need to start to lift your game. Why is everyone burnt out? Because you're all juggling.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
You know, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line.
Yeah.
If it takes 3 minutes to get there, if it took you 6 minutes to get there, it means you're a snake. It means you didn't go straight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 100%, yeah. Yep.
Because it only takes 3 minutes to get there. How come it took you 6?
That's right, yeah.
And that's the question I ask a lot of people.
Yeah, a good way to put it again, you know, like, yeah.
I'm full of all one-liners, you know. I'm the king of one-liners. It's funny. I've got a book on one-liners. But it's the truth, because I like to have things really... I'm a very simple person. I'm uneducated.
Yep.
You know, I'm very uneducated when it comes to school. I'd finished school by the time I was 14 and a half. I was kicked out of school.
Yep.
So all my education is lived experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of my education is self-education from reading, from listening. I really like old people because old people have done it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for the old people. I listen to old people and I take what they say very seriously.
Yeah.
I hear young people getting up spruiking stuff these days, and I laugh. I think, fuck me, dead mate. Where do you draw this information from? What well are you drawing this information from?
Yeah, and you know, mate, I'm so similar. I mean, whole different generation and stuff, but I mean, like, I grew up with a very, very staunch, hard old man, you know, but that was exactly like you, really honoured his elders, you know, and so that sort of bred into me, and just like this right now, mate, I get so much knowledge and what's the word, like enjoyment, intrigued by older blokes like yourself, you know, being a lot younger than you, you know, you're at least 3 generations older than me, you know, so it's yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm just that few generations behind, you know, like
with an open mind, you don't have to make the mistakes we made. And that's the message we carry too. That listen, it's all bullshit. That's why I called my book "The Lie of Crime."
Yep.
It says the life, and I crossed the F off.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
born into the lie of crime.
Yeah, yep, cool. I'll flash a photo of that up on the screen, actually. Yeah.
I say to people all the time, you know, I was talking to some young guys, you know, because they all come up to me and go, "Oh, listen to your podcast, man. It's really cool." And I was at a place a few months ago, and there was this young guy, and he had the Louis Vuitton bag across him, you know, and all the good gear. You know, he's got the money. I was wearing the Rolex, and he's got it all going on. Him and his mate. And we listen to you. Yeah, yeah. I said, "Where are you from?" He goes, "Oh, I'm from Melbourne, you know." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, good luck." And we're talking, and I said, "You want to be criminals, do you?" And they looked at each other and they smiled. So I got bad news for you. I said, "You're 30 years too late." I said, "Technology just took away your criminality." Mate.
Yep.
I said, "Right now, if they want, they could be listening to your telephone to our conversation." Right
100%. They probably are.
They've already triangulated the three of us standing together with how many inches apart we are.
Yeah.
Said,
that's
right now,
crazy.
The GPS is right we are. I said, so if you think you're going to be a criminal, my friend, you've missed the boat.
Yeah.
I said, it's like back to me thinking I'm going to ride him with a horse and fucking rob a stagecoach. Those days are over, buddy. And they just looked at each other and didn't know what to say, you know.
But it's so true, mate,
true.
you know. Yeah, the technology these days is just fucking beyond a joke.
Crimes on computers.
Yeah.
Crimes are done on computers. Crimes aren't done with guns and...
No, and, you know, all they need is your phone number to be able to fully tap your phone. Yeah. I got pulled over the other day by a copper and I was speeding. Unusual for me. And blah, blah, blah. He gets out and he's like, no. He's telling me, like, you were doing this, X, Y, Z. And I said, yeah, okay, thanks, you know. He said, and he's got this little book that he says, do you want the fine sent to your email or to your phone number, right? It's a true story. Yeah, yep. And
I said, oh, my phone. I started telling me phone number. He said, no, I've already got it.
Yeah, wow. Yep.
And next thing, 2 seconds later, I get SMS'd.
A fine.
The fine.
Yeah.
I said, do you want my number? And he said, no, I've already got it.
That sort of would have made your fucking brain go...
My brain just fucking fizzled.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck you got my phone number?
Yeah.
He'd done a rego check. The rego checker told him who I was, my name was,
everything
else, everything.
Yep.
And he's on a motorbike. So this is information that he's not having to physically obtain. This has been pumped into his headset.
Yeah, wow.
Everything about me. Criminal, exploit, blah, 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 blah.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it, you know? Yeah. And, I suppose I'm lucky to have been born in this generation where technology was there too, because, you know, like I would have seen myself going down a very similar... Without the police technology these days, I would have done a lot more jail, put it that way, you know? Like...
something I'll touch on quickly. When I went to jail in 2002, there was no iPhones. There was no social media. So fast forward from 2002 to 2012.
Yeah, right.
I get out and my mate hands me an iPhone. And he's hooked me up to Facebook. And he's hooked me up to Instagram and TikTok or whatever fucking else it was.
Yep.
Well, this thing's gone beep, 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 beep all night. I don't know how to turn it off.
I don't mean to laugh, mate.
I don't understand what it is. I'm going to smash it against the wall because I don't know what it is. I don't know anything about it. I've got all these friends requests.
Yep.
Within 3 months, I had 5,000 friends.
Yeah, wow.
I just spent 8 years in maximum security prison, right?
Right when everything had come out during that time, yep.
And I had 5 different people visit me. Where were those fucking 5,000 friends when I was in prison?
Yep.
That was something that just went to me. It was like, I've had 5,000 friend requests in 3 to 6 months, whatever it was.
Yep.
I just spent 8 years in prison. I had visits from 5 different people.
Yeah, crazy, eh? Yeah.
You know, then I started calling it stalk book.
Yep. Yeah,
because everyone was stalking each other.
That's right, and that's all it is. You know, you've got these 5,000 friends. You'd probably have 10 of them that'd actually say good day to you if you walk past them in the street. You know,
100%.
You know, and I remember when I was in jail, Ron, and there was actually 2 guys that were at the arse end of their life sentences for murders or whatever they'd done. And I'm explaining to them, like, you got no idea, mate, what the world's like on the outside now, phones and shit, and apps and stuff. And one of them's like, "What's an app?" Yeah. And it was like, fucking, how do you explain that to somebody that's never, it was. But yeah, I definitely know what you're saying there, mate.
So I've been home for nearly 12 years, and I still don't know how to use 90% of my phone.
Yep.
I still don't know how to use 90% of my car.
Yep.
I sold a car last year, and this guy started sending me emails. When he was trying to buy it, he says, "Has it got the back screen?" It was a new Lexus. It was a GS Lexus, a really good car. It was my wife's car. And he says, "It got the back screen." I said, "We'd had it for 3 years." I said, "I don't know." He says, "It got this." I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Go out and push that button." I pushed the button and the back screen went off. I said to my wife, "It's got a fucking screen in the back." I didn't know it had that.
Yeah, wow.
A sunscreen. We'd had the car for 3 years because I still haven't got that mentality where I go and read the instructions.
Yeah, yep.
I still don't have that mentality.
Yeah, and I suppose that goes back to you saying, the worst crime you've ever committed was wasting your life away in jail, and for just little things like that, like technology and all those sort of things, it's like, it's sad, Ronnie, it is, but you can acknowledge it and...
Mate, look, jail and drug use are exactly the same. They're a waste of life.
Yep.
100%.
Yep, I agree.
There is no joy from drug use. Now, the sad part is everyone thinks alcohol is okay. Alcohol is a poison. Alcohol has got no medical benefits whatsoever unless you're rubbing on the outside of your skin to kill the germs.
Yeah, the mother to all fuck-ups, it is. Yeah.
Yet we drink it.
Yeah.
It kills more people than all the other drugs put together.
That's right.
Alcohol and tobacco, both of the things that the government allow, tax,
that's right,
and freely promote.
Yep.
If you don't drink, in Australia, if you don't drink, you question, why don't you drink?
Yeah.
Like, because I don't fucking want to.
Yeah, it's like people think it's unhumane not to drink.
I
Like,
get told all around the world for years, for the last 38 years, what, you don't drink? You sure you're an Aussie?
yeah,
You know, like that's the
Yeah.
thing we have. You go to most Asian countries, Aussies are called the drunken yobbos.
yeah, yeah,
You know, that's our fucking claim to fame. I just love being clean. I love thinking clean. I love helping people because I believe everything I have today is a direct result of what I've given to somebody else.
yeah, 100%, mate.
I believe in giving, we receive.
Yeah,
You know, I give you my time, I receive time back. I give you my respect, I get respect back. I give you love, I get... And you know what, mate? If somebody's late 3 times to me, they don't get late the 4th time. If somebody disrespects me and they haven't got a good reason for it, you know, then they won't disrespect me twice, you know what I mean?
yep, likewise,
I
mate.
just cut people out quickly, mate.
Yep.
If it's not beneficial and it's healthy to my growth, I don't want it in my life. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything.
100%.
Everything I have today is inside of me.
Yep,
All the outside, I've got everything. Materialistically, I have everything you could ever possibly want.
yep,
If I lose it tomorrow, does it matter? Not really. I've done it before.
yeah, 100%,
It didn't
mate.
change who I was, mate. It doesn't change who I was. Why do if I go through my phone, I go through my phone and there's no drug dealers in there. There's corporate owners, corporate managers, people that own fucking insurance companies,
Yep,
people that own some of the biggest building companies in Australia. I have mentors from all around the world that we talk to each other.
yep, unreal.
And that's what I like about social media. I love social media for the contact
Yep,
because I can get on.
anybody, anywhere in the world, that's right, yeah.
As I said to you today, I did a podcast with a mate of mine in Israel in the middle of fucking Tel Aviv, in the middle of the war 2 nights ago.
Yeah, unreal.
And,
Yeah,
you know, and he's a good mate of mine. I'm going, he goes, mate, it's really, it's uncertain. But he's the guy that lives in there. I'm not going to get into politics for any of the wars. I don't know anything about that shit. He said, the people of Israel don't want the war.
yep.
He said, but we don't get a say in it. We never chose. It wasn't vote.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
we're going to blow up the Gaza, you know, like, he said, we just want it to stop because we don't know who's, he said, I've been to more funerals this year than I have in my whole life, you know.
Wow.
So that's
yep.
the political part of the bullshit, you know, but the reality is, mate, I can only change me, I can only better me, and I can hope, but by me being a better person, I can help somebody else be a better person, and that's what I try to do. I try to carry a message of hope, love and faith, you know.
Yeah, and it's awesome, mate. You know, yeah, I'm absolutely honoured to have caught up with you, met you in person. You know, shared stories and stuff, mate. It's been an absolute honour having you on the show, Ronnie. We are coming to an end, brother. Couple more things. Give us a spiel on your socials where people can find you. You know, you've got your podcast and stuff.
Yeah, my podcast is called The Truth About Addiction. My book is, you go into thetruthaboutaddiction.com. You can buy my book there. It's called Born with the Lie of Crime. It is a good read. It's very honest. It's
Yep. I'll whack the link in the description actually for it, mate.
So
Yep.
warts and all. We do an online rehab, which, you know, I do it, but I don't like doing it. I do it because some people don't want to go to 12-step programs if they've tried everything else. If you've tried everything else and it hasn't worked, contact me, and I'll work with you. You know, because I do know how to stay clean. I
Yeah.
do know how to help people stay clean. I'm not the fluffy pink cloud counsellor. I'm the work the steps or die motherfucker type of counsellor.
Yeah,
you know?
unreal. Yeah, yeah.
You do this or you fuck off.
Yep.
If you think I'm doing this because it's for the money, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I get paid, but you know what I mean? I've got to get paid. I've got to feed family.
Exactly right. Yeah.
That's not my motivation for why I do what I do. Money's not my motivation for anything anymore, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. You're at peace with it. Like.
I'm at peace with what I do. And, you know, the reality is the only message I carry, and this is the truth, if you don't know, ask somebody.
Yep.
It's fucking simple.
Yep.
It's called humility.
Yeah, well, that was my next question, mate. I just want to hear some good advice from you for somebody that maybe heading down a life of crime or drug addiction, mate. What's some advice you can throw out there for them?
To me, they go hand in hand. If you're going to get into a life of crime, don't cry when you go to jail. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. That's the biggest thing. If you go to jail, you're just going to be wasting your life. If you're on a spiral of drug addiction, get help because it's only going to get worse. There's no such thing as getting better in the drug addiction. You know, if you be honest with yourself, the joy's gone. The fun's fucking over. You know, it never was fun. You know, a couple of weeks might have been, it's cool. It's not cool anymore. And I asked this question. I'm going to finish on this. Would you let a liar, a thief, and a cheat live in your house?
Yeah, it was just
The answer's no.
exactly right. Yeah,
So
it's
why
a
do you
pretty
let one
fucking
live in your
simple
head?
answer.
So why do you let one live in your head?
Yep.
Because that voice in your head that tells you that no one will know, it's only one, you'll get away with it this time, it's not as bad, I'm only using coke, I only have a few beers with the boys and I get a couple of bags,
Yep.
you know, at least I'm not fucking shooting it up.
Yeah.
They're all justifications, you know.
Yep.
Justification, masturbation and procrastination are the same thing, you're fucking yourself.
Yep.
You know, all those things are just fucking lies. So get away from the liar, the thief and cheat. Seek somebody out who's going to be honest with you, and good luck, save it.
Awesome, brother. Really appreciate it, Ronnie.
Thank you, brother.
It's been an honour having you on, mate. And guys, that is Ronnie Isherwood. All his links and stuff will be in the description. They'll flash up on the screen. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed it.
Thanks, guys.